Hello, this is Whatcast and I'm Matt. Back to flat earth stuff again then on this channel. Why not? It's quite a laugh to do. This latest one, Flat Earth Dave, has finally... I haven't watched this. This said it's about 49 minutes, right? I might have to hit the speed up a little bit at some point if I persevere with it. But I like reacting... Anyone that knows this channel knows that other than the very, very short clips, I generally like reacting to things when I watch them for the first time. I haven't really got the interest to sit and watch it all the way through and then react to it the second time. I don't really do things like that. So I'm quite interested in Dave's, Flat Earth Dave, who refused a trip to Antarctica, didn't want to go away with demons, obviously. That was the best he could do for his excuse. And obviously he needs an excuse when they come back. A bit of a difficult situation for Dave. Doesn't really want to fall out with the people that went, but wants to call them shills. Been called a shill himself because he was kind of flip-flopping whether he was going to back them up and say they were telling the truth or not. And now he seems to have come up with a reason how they faked the sun in Antarctica. So I'm going to assume... because this is the title. Let me show you it, bring it up here. I'm going to assume that he thinks they went to Antarctica, but they somehow faked the sun and tricked everybody, including his friends. Although I think Jaren and him are probably not friends anymore, but him and Whitsitt are still friends, allegedly. So let's check out the video then and see what excuses he's making to keep his app selling here. Because obviously he can't change his model. It's on the app. Doesn't want to lose any money, so he's got to explain it how it was faked because he always said it couldn't happen. It took him a while, took him a month, but he's now putting this out. So let's see what he's got to say. I'm very interested.
What are we going to talk about tonight, Dave?
We're going to be discussing the TFE by Will Duffy, which is
no picture
he calls the final experiment.
Is it just... oh, no,
and how we think it may have been accomplished.
Oh, sounds
Basically,
very confident.
What you're saying is that you think that they faked the sun down there.
Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Yeah, and once you brought it up to me, and I've actually sat with it for...
It doesn't even look like he believes it.
I don't know how to say I'm completely convinced, but I'm definitely heading there. That's for sure. So
no, you're not.
And I ran it by a lot of other prominent people in the community, and nobody shot it down yet. A lot of people.
Jaren has. You don't really get much more prominent than that, though, do you? Jaren, he's shot it down already, but you don't. Let's not mention Jaren. You don't like him anymore. He's a shill now. Yeah, Jaren. So who hasn't shot it down? Flatside. There's a mental giant. Who else? Eric Dubé's not going to shoot it down. He needs it as much as you need it. Joe Hanvey, is he going to put it on his latest model? He's tried 36 times already to get one. Who else? Does he mention anybody?
People are like, wow, that's interesting. Taboo conspiracy is one. And we had a long conversation. He was supposed to be part of this, but he's busy with 16 kids, I think. Mm-hmm. But when we say fake the sun, we don't mean the sun simulator. We don't mean this because this is crazy. When you think
this is crazy.
The sun, if you think the sun simulator, you're going to rule it out. Just like if you think flat Earth, someone that searches for flat Earth and sees this, you immediately go, flat Earth is stupid, and you stop looking. I think that the sun simulator was leaked several years ago as a red herring for this exact operation. When I say operation, this is an operation equal to the moon landing. And when I say that is it's a billion times easier than the moon landing because the moon landing had millions or billions of people watching, television cameras, people all over the place. This had 3 people in a remote area, essentially controlled by NASA for a deception. And we're going to talk about how they possibly or probably or likely pulled that off. If you look at it from my point of view, this thing was designed for me to go. I had I would say the foresight to see that it was a false binary. It was a trap. And I didn't know what they were going to do.
The foresight. So I'm assuming that Dave. I'll wait and see. I don't know because he said it is in Antarctica in the title, so he thinks that they were there. So why didn't you accept then, Dave? Why didn't you accept the offer to go on this? to blow it wide open if you're the special one. And Whitsitt and Jaren are obviously just idiots, in your opinion, that haven't seen through this. But you had the foresight to not go. Surely, if you had any foresight, you would go, and then you go, that's fake. That's fake. No, right, I'm going to expose this lie and expose NASA. You didn't go because you knew what you were going to see and because you knew it'd be the end for you. You wouldn't be able to do this, what you're doing right now, pretending it was fake if you'd have gone. That's why you didn't go. Ain't it, Dave?
Jared and Austin were 99% sure they were going to cancel the trip or it was going to be cloudy. Well, that didn't happen. And I knew it was a trap from the beginning. So, when we look at something like this, I mean, the moon landing.
How was it a trap?
Just this room of people, but this is just a small fraction of the people that are involved with the moon landing, but they pulled that off. We all know that was faked, right? This is a billion times easier to do what they did. And we're going to talk about how they did it and we'll go from there. But Marty, you want to bring up some points about what we care about and what we're saying and what we mean here?
Yeah, so let's just go on the list right away. Okay, so are we proclaiming without question that they faked the 24-hour sun? As of right now, I'm leaning very strongly yes, and I think Dave is pretty much there too. But they're
who are you, number one, to be leaning anywhere? And what the fuck? What do you expect Dave to say? Is Dave going to say, actually, they went there, they saw the real sun going round and round and round. My app no longer is relevant. I'm going to lose all of that revenue and I'm going to have to start from scratch and build it up again and try and build the trust of all the idiots that have fooled with my app and tell them, actually, I was wrong that time, but I'm definitely right this time. Or are you going to make up a ridiculous story about how they faked it and dickheads like that are just going to blindly get on board to crawl up his ass? That's what it looks like to me.
Other possibilities do we still have to take into consideration that there could be a rational, reasonable explanation for there is a 24-hour sun down there?
Yeah, it's a globe.
And there's a reasonable explanation in our flat Earth model because of optics, dome, that sort of thing. Yes, that's still a possibility as well. But do we believe that this avenue should be specifically looked at? Yes. And once you start looking at this avenue, I think the rest of them are going to fall off, and you're going to start to see that this actually makes a whole lot of sense, and it actually leads into a lot of other things like we were talking about before, like fake UFO invasions and that sort of stuff, which we'll get into the holography and the holographic technology and stuff like that. But so we already know that we can't really even do much science on physical science. We can't do any physical science on what's
science. Him. Science. Really?
Going on upstairs. So we fully admit that. So there's a huge limitation, no matter what model we end up on, of even under, actually doing science on what goes on upstairs. I mean, right? Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. You did a great talk about how the sky is immeasurable. It's non-physical. We can't go there. Even if Joe Handy's model is 100% accurate, it's still just a theory. And I believe
Joe Handy's model,
that when they got there, people that were leaving said it's been cloudy for months there, and then the sky parted when they went there. And
all the people at the camp said that it's been
parted. Did it?
Terrible weather for like 2 months.
The sky parted.
Beautiful.
Sorry about that.
And that's a blessing. Probably not a coincidence.
And I call it 9/11 blue, but now I'm going to call it Union Glacier blue. That's the new definition of a chroma key blue sky. Mm-hmm. And it became blue sky when they got there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we'll talk about. Basically, when you're in Antarctica, it's according to all the records, 80-90% of the time it's cloudy.
Let's start with the organizer of this. This is supposedly a grassroots movement by a guy named Will Duffy, a little preacher from a little church in Denver. We'll talk about him in a second. But one of the things when I turned it down, so they were surprised when I turned it down, and they really wanted prominent flat earthers down there so they could pull this off. Because if they had like a no name there, it wouldn't have been as powerful of a move for them. And when Jaren and Austin were negotiating, I pointed out, I said, if they see the sun behind a hazy sky, they could fake that. I was calling they could fake the sun. And Jaren's like, no, you can't. It was sunspots and everything. I said, well, if it's hazy, so he brought that up to Will. Will says, if it's hazy, it's a win for flat Earth.
Yeah. So here's Will Duffy.
It's crazy how confident he was.
Exactly. So this guy, for months before they even go down,
Why is it crazy how confident he was? Sorry, I'm just trying to straighten the screen up here. I don't know what happened there. Why is it crazy how confident he was? If you know we live on a globe, which we do, right, then you can have all the confidence. I was super confident. Everybody that's ever done anything was super confident. To pretend that somehow this was unsettled science before Antarctica, before the people in Antarctica see it every fucking year. These trips go all the time. These people, they pretend to their audiences that this was something that we've only just discovered this year. We didn't know before this year. We've always known. Of course they're confident. What are you on about?
know that it's supposed to be 89% clouds most of the time, right? He's completely confident. He's spending what, $500,000, maybe $1 million, I don't know how much of his own money to go down for months. He's completely confident that it's just gonna, next thing you know, when you get down there, blue skies are gonna show up. That's exactly what happens. They see the 24-hour sun, they get out of that sort of thing. So here's Will Duffy, that is essentially the guy that came out of nowhere, has a bunch of money, is completely confident, plays the cool, calm, collected sort of figure the entire time, is on the Globey side. Everything that they needed was presented to them that day, a perfectly blue sky and a sun. And Will Duffy was confident the entire time. What about Duffy is, where's if you've been to his Instagram account or his YouTube account, that sort of stuff, you can see there's nobody in the audience when he's preaching. We ask, has he performed any baptisms, any weddings? Has he performed any funerals? Is there any testimonials for any of the people that actually work at his, or that congregations from his church? Is there any of this information? Because allegedly there's several thousand people that go to that, or at least subscribe to his church online. Who are these people? There's got to be some people that we can speak to, right?
And if you look at all of the recordings, he was a preacher for 3 years before this. And if you watch all, except for the last few, I think in the last year when they're getting closer to this, there was like half a dozen people in his church, but never once you hear a baby cry, never once you hear an amen, never once you hear him address anyone in the congregation. Marty, could you do service after service after service and never acknowledge anybody in the audience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So that's a little crazy. And then the thing that I find amazing.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. Regardless, I'm not a religious person. I couldn't give two fucks about religion whatsoever. I think Will Duffy is, as a pastor, it's irrelevant to me. I don't believe any of that stuff, right? It doesn't change the fact that people went to Antarctica and saw the sun for 24 hours going round their head. Whether he's a bit crazy for spending all of this money, whether it was a waste of money, which I kind of said to him when I spoke to Will myself on this show. I kind of said to him, you're probably wasting your money. It ain't going to change anybody's mind. I think he's crazy. Would I spend my money on that? No, definitely not. But the fact is, he took people that Dave used to call his friends and trusts, and they've come back saying the exact same thing. Not good enough for Dave.
Amazing is, Will Duffy
could have gone himself, but didn't. Not good enough for this evidence. Ain't good. It could have gone and just blown. Again, why didn't you just agree to go and expose the whole thing? Why didn't you go?
Is a self-proclaimed multimillionaire, and that's why he just cares about the flat earth thing, right? But if you check his FINRA, he was in the financial business. On 11/9/2021, he was sued for $218,000. He got off for $10,000, not bad, okay? And then so that's one. 9/16/2022, getting a little closer. He had to settle for $225,000.
The desperation.
Right? And then 4/19/2024, that's April 19th, right? This was when this is coming out. He got sued again. And then on June 6th, $135,000, violations of federal securities laws, violations of Colorado Securities Act, breach of contract, common law fraud, negligence, and gross negligence. $135,000. And then on 6/11, another one for 300.
Don't flat earthers call this sort of stuff the poison in the well fallacy? That's what they call this, right? Whenever you go on and on about the individual and don't address the issue. The issue is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Dave, you're not exactly known as Mr. Honesty yourself, are you? You're selling an app, which is a fucking proven lie now to people. Your app data got leaked and all of that, and you've barely addressed that. You just ran from that issue. And now you're going, well, this person's got a shady past. I couldn't give a fuck if he's done the Great Train Robbery. The fact is, they've got all of this information from Antarctica, hours and hours and hours of footage, hours and hours and hours of live stream, and you're going to pretend that somehow they faked the sun. I wish you'd get to the point rather than poisoning the well about this.
$60,000, a whole bunch of stuff. And all this guy cares, he's got another $500,000 in fines. And all this guy cares about is settling the flat earth debate. Does that make any sense to you?
So the other thing that people need to know before we get into the fake sun and that sort of stuff,
is please do.
That Anthony Powell is a guy that he actually is a filmmaker. And he filmed, what's the film? It's a year in Antarctica, I want to say, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Basically, right before Whitsitt and Jaron get down to Antarctica, Will Duffy hands Whitsitt. He said, hey, I just went online and I saw that there's this one guy that has a 24-hour shot of the sun. And so flat earthers for how long? Probably 8-9 years have been looking for footage, 24 hours, and there's basically nothing. There was one that was stitched together. Then all of a sudden, right before right before those guys get down, Will Duffy hands Witsit Gets It this video and says, "Hey, I found this 24-hour video." Well, it's Anthony Powell. Anthony Powell is a filmmaker that's been working in Antarctica for about 10 years, and he works for National Geographic and Disney and BBC, and he actually has a company called, I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called. I'll show the image here, but basically he owns the company that runs his website, and he actually provides stock footage for a bunch of these, like National Geographic, Disney, and that sort of stuff. So this is the guy that had the 24-hour footage just happenstance to just hand it right to Witsit right before they get down there. So
So back in I think it's 2014, 15, 16, somewhere around there, all the flat earthers were saying there's no footage of the 24-hour sun. We'd called down to there and looked at all of the webcam.
This is beyond desperate. Address the actual experiment or observation, because it's not an experiment. Call it whatever you want. Address it. Stop talking about, but the footage beforehand was fake, and this happened, and this bloke's got a shady past, and this happened, and this happened. Get on with it, for fuck's sake.
Footage, and they cut out 6 to 10 hours every night, and they claim that it was bandwidth issues and stuff. So that's suspect. There's no
suspect that you've had banned issues in Antarctica, because you'd think it'd be just the same internet as New York City there, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Webcam footage, and anyone that called to Antarctica said, "Hey, I want to come there and see the 24-hour sun. Will I be able to see it?" They would never say yes. Lots of them said no, but in the north, they highly advertise it. But Anthony Powell put out this.
Yeah, when would they call? So if you're going to call in July, you're not going to see it. So perhaps that was what they was talking about. Or maybe the person on the other end of the phone just didn't want to make any guarantees in case it was cloudy, like you just said it always is there.
This video, and I debunked it, and it literally put egg on the guy's face. Well, Anthony Powell then goes quiet for a couple of years, right? This is a guy. He put out this video. It's destroyed, proven fake. Not because we say it's fake, it's because it was fake. And then
proof. It's proven fake, not because we said it was, but because it was, with no proof.
He quietly films the sun a half a dozen more times and puts it out quietly. And Will Duffy is the one that discovers it.
And then hands it to Witsit right before they leave. And then look who the guy works for. So it's like, just once again, very, very.
Why is what's handing it to Witsit just before they leave got to do with anything? Witsit then went and witnessed it himself, regardless of what had been handed before he went. Please explain why that's relevant.
Suspect. That's all we'll say. So, and it seems like a lot of people are looking into Jared and Austin, and maybe they should be looking more into Will Duffy and Anthony Powell and these sorts of characters. So
absolutely.
Another thing that needs to be said too is that any scientific experiment, and this is your basic protocols of science, right? Now, even though that really wasn't an experiment, it wasn't final, really wasn't an experiment, it was just an observation. But even if we were to grant and say that was an experiment, even in your normal protocols of science, do you know how many experiments you have to do at the very least to consider it a legit scientific experiment?
I knew they'd get to this.
At least 3. So the notion that their premise is that we're going to do this one thing and it's somehow science goes directly against just your basic protocols of science.
One thing I want to talk about Antarctica. Remember, Al Gore said that if the temperature rises 1.5 or 2 degrees, we're all dead. Remember that, right? Antarctica,
Dave.
Global rate,
right? And so there's a whole bunch of articles talking about it. And if you get to the Wikipedia one,
Dave, I really want to just get
to no sun.
How they fix the sun.
Then you also say 50 degrees. Okay, so this.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically were part of an enormous prank, if you will.
So when they went down there and reported what they saw and brought back videos, people that in their soul knows that something's wrong. Says, okay, this is fake. Well, the only default they have, because they've been psyoped, they've been gatekept by the sun simulator to think that there's no way to fake the sun, is the people, everyone's in on it. And so they look for anomalies. And sure, there's anomalies, but they're extreme. Wow. That's why I had to make those freaking gate videos, because they were just wrong. And I got demonized because of it. I said, I'm supporting flat earth. I mean, supporting Will Duffy. Absolutely not. I am more against it than anybody else, but I know that they're not in on it. I was supposed to go. That means that I would be in on it. Now, none of you, not even you, Marty, know that I'm not in on it. Only I know. Right? Only I know 100% for sure, right? I could be the greatest.
This is how ridiculous Flat Earth is. Half of the community think he is in on it and that he's a shill. I've been told that when I had him on my show, because he didn't perform particularly well, and I was like literally a novice at this a few years ago and didn't really know anything, and he still stuttered and fucked his way through the whole chat. Everybody said to me, "Oh, well, he's clearly a shill because otherwise he'd have destroyed you. Usually, he's clearly a shill." Like somehow me and Dave were working together on that. Fuck off.
Greatest special agent of all time. But I knew that they weren't in on it.
See, he mocks that. He mocks that people would suggest he was a shill whilst constantly suggesting everyone else is a shill. The stupidity of these people.
And then, all of the GoPro footage, the chest cam footage, everything else, I don't think anybody can deny that they were there. So you have to go even deeper. There's a video wall, and the drone hitting the wall and all of this stuff. They were there. The breath wasn't, vape gate. They were there. They were there. They filmed. The film is real. But what did they film?
Okay, so what we're about to talk about is that, yes, we think that they faked the sun down there. And actually, in my opinion, they've probably been doing this, or at least set up to do this since the 60s. Okay, so this wasn't something that they just set up for like Jared and Austin to get down there or anything like that. That when, just as us flat earthers know that they've been lying to us about our cosmology.
Why would they bother? This is what annoys me so much about this. You think these people would give a single fuck to fool flat earthers? Let's fake the sun. We'll work on it from the 60s, and in 60 years on, we'll actually use the technology to trick Flat Earth Dave and Eric Duprick and fucking Knobzoid and all these other dickheads. Why would they care so much? What the fuck difference does it make what shape we're living on anyway? What does it change about anything? I'm hiding God. What? Why are they hiding God? If we'd always been taught it was flat with a dome, people still would have been atheists.
So this would just be yet one other aspect of that lie. It's not like a whole new conspiracy that we're drumming up. It's basically, look, you got SpaceX, you got NASA, JAXA, ESA, JPL. You've got all of these organizations that are doing what? Completely committed to lying about our cosmology. This would just be yet another one of those aspects. So
a simple one compared to how big those are.
Exactly, right? This is actually peanuts. It's like, as you said, the tech is really Atari. But so first and foremost, when people say, well, they couldn't fake the sun. So let's take the Globies perspective on this. What do Globies say that the modern science can do? They can drive rovers around on Mars. They can send a car out into space, Elon, SpaceX. They can build the ISS going 17,500 miles an hour. They can reconnect satellites after 42 years of being dormant. We can go hippity hoppity on the moon in the 1960s. We can create nuclear power, nuclear bombs, CERN particle accelerators that
never going to get to the point.
Surfers that think we couldn't fake the sun and the moon, but they can manipulate the weather.
How did they do it?
And the LA one or Las Vegas one where they could do.
How did they do it?
Dues are being used here. If you look at this car right here in the middle.
Fires now. How did they do the sun?
Right. So there is some sort of tech being used in these fires. This is.
How did they do the sun?
The first in California, again now in Los Angeles or wherever they are here.
16 minutes in. How did they do the sun? You're going to tell me.
Obliterated, but trees nearby, not burned. So directed energy technology isn't a theory. It does exist. And no,
it doesn't.
Or screen or glass.
It might, but you don't know it does.
Right into thin air. Right here's just a standard laser pointing up the clouds, making a bright.
Are we doing Project Bluebeam?
This is Oh yeah. So we've all seen this where the lasers, they don't burn things blue. Now that's not what
we've all seen this
with the sun. Imagine if you didn't see this beam. I kind of silhouetted the background. This is just a random shot of a laser beam hitting this blue tarp. So
in the sky and project it into the sky. And this is
a laser beam. Here we go. We're finally at the point, obviously.
1960, 1970, let alone what they have now. Just to show how advanced this tech is, that you can, for like $22 at Walmart, you can get a lamp that actually projects the moon just as you would see it for like literally $20. And so this goes to show you how actually old some of this technology is.
Here's something I noticed last night. And again, I looked for some other videos.
Did they just say a kid's toy that projects the moon could be what they use?
A weird sunbeam. But when I compared it to the Antarctic footage, you see these weird these weird lines here. I'm going forward and backwards here. That's kind of a weird sun flare, and I compared it to
very weird,
to the 24-hour sun in the Arctic, which we know is real, and I didn't find any of those weird. And
it's funny, we know that one's real. Like no one's ever because it works for his map. No one ever analyzes that one. Oh, yes, we just know that's real, but this one's definitely not real. No, they're both real. You know that it's real. You can literally, you don't even have to go to Antarctica. Look at their footage from Chile. Right on the south. The sun is not where your map says it is. Is it, Dave? So even if you wanted to ignore this, was that also a simulator? And also, I'm hoping that he gets to something in a minute and actually addresses what they did with the real sun when this laser beam was going round and round. But I'm not hopeful because he's took 20 minutes to get to this point.
Call them disconnected lines. Now, again, maybe I'm wrong here. They're just very strange. Like if there was at different beams projecting this, like these are very, very strange sun flares. So this is the Arctic, and we don't see any of those beams there. I just found that interesting.
Mhm.
And now we have
thought
all these
that could
drones
work
and
for
now
me.
orbs that are showing up everywhere. This is an orb.
He didn't find that interesting. He thought, my idiot subscribers will totally buy that and won't check it at all. So I'll say that.
New Jersey. Now, with a couple choices here. This could be an extraterrestrial orb that we don't understand, or this could just be another hoax with some directed energy, a plasma ball being projected in the sky. Looks a little bit like a sun, right? And this is just projected into thin air. Imagine if you had plasma or reflective crystalline dome at 13,000 feet, what you can do with that and making it much brighter and bigger.
And the point is that if they can project holograms and that sort of stuff into thin air or off the dome or whatever, right, that look as real as anything, then this gives a lot of credence and credibility to the whole UFO agenda that they've been pushing for years. So beyond that, but you're going to explain how you think that they actually fake the sun.
Do it!
So we're talking to somebody that's been involved with this type of technology from years and years ago, and it's way more advanced. So here's Union Glacier, the campus somewhere in here. You could have one location here, and it beams the sun around this beam, and then when it gets over here, there's a handoff to another projector, and to do the handoff, there needs to be a little bit of an overlap so the sun doesn't blink out. And if they did an overlap, it could cause that squished sun, which they saw. But again, we're not even sure if there needs to be handoff. It depends on the location. They might be able to do the whole thing with one. But when I'm talking about the squished sun, we did see the sun morph and change.
No, the squished sun has been explained so many times. Why are you pretending you haven't seen the explanations for this? It's been addressed so many times. You just hope that people watching this have never seen it addressed, and therefore, oh, the sun was squished, and then blindly start typing, Flat Earth Dave's discovered the sun was squished. You don't understand anything about cameras or anything about motion capture. You don't understand anything, or you understand all of it, and you're pretending that you don't. Which one is it?
In shape a little bit. That could have been where the handoff happened. Again, this needs more investigation, and I wish people would get off the ridiculous investigation path that they're on, that Jaron and Austin are shills.
This is the ridiculous. Yeah, try and keep in with Jaron. Jaron disagrees with everything you're saying, by the way. You think they wouldn't see? You think that the people that was watching the sun wouldn't see the sun squishing and moving around? But you do on the footage. Like they wouldn't see the handoffs, as whatever you're calling it.
They're pawns. They're not shills. They reported what they saw, but they're not looking into all of the possibilities. If they're transmitting into the sky, how far would they have to project? Well, if you had an airplane that was at 13,000 feet, how far would it have to go to appear to be 15 degrees off the horizon? And it's only 9.2 miles, right? So the airplane's 13,000 feet, height of the dome, okay? And it only have to go 9.2 miles to look like it's 15 degrees, and to be 30 degrees off the horizon, which would be the noon sun, only 4.27 miles. So think about this. The projector, it's got a radius of less than 10 miles, way less. Yeah, now, it could be, they could send it farther. They wouldn't have to send it farther if they're using the dome. So they're just making a ball go around those guys that has light.
Evidence of the dome, please. Say the dome like it's just a fact, right? And I can't be bothered to wait anymore for this explanation. I don't know if he's going to address it. I haven't watched this. I'm getting a bit bored of listening to this utter desperate drivel. And he doesn't seem to ever address anything. But let's just say this, right? And then I'll give it another couple of minutes to see if he addresses it, and then I'm just going to give up because it's just insane, and it's insane to listen to. That now he thinks there's projectors on mountains handing off the sun to each other to make it work. Massive flaw with that problem, Dave. Your flat Earth model still predicts a sun at that time of year. So they'd also have to make the handoffs match the actual sun coming round exactly. So at no point two suns are in the sky. I wonder if you'll address that. Let's see.
And brings heat, right? Because they could feel the heat of the sun, and it was super bright.
This is the one thing that nobody's looking into, really. You were the only one, as far as I knew, that was actually looking into it. And it's the one thing that they needed to fake. So everybody else is going down all these other avenues. And it's like, you don't need to do that at all. As far as I can tell, Jaron and Austin are absolutely telling the truth. The whole trip was legit. But what's not legit is what they saw. The one thing that they needed to produce was a nice day and a fake sun. Now, all these people were saying the notion that they don't have the tech to do that is ridiculous. I would not agree with anybody that say they couldn't do that. No, they have tech way, way beyond that. That's for sure. So
So now everyone, the one thing is they're talking about how the sky color never changed. Now the argument against this, the steel man, is the sun never got low enough for it to really change. This is the Arctic, this is the Antarctic, and when the sun gets low, we're all used to it changing. But I'd say well, it's very dry down there. That's maybe why it didn't change. But it's the gases. When it gets down low, it's going through different gases, and we should, in my opinion, I think the colors should change.
So here's a hologram, literally into thin air.
In my opinion, I think. Very scientific there, Dave. In my uneducated bullshit opinion, I think this. But you also still are not addressing about the sun. Does anyone know if he does? Like, does he ever address where the real sun goes during all of this sham that he's claiming they did with this laser beam sun that they're reflecting off of the dome that just happens to have sunspots as well in it from everywhere? Has he not mentioned that as well? The sun being pictures taken from everywhere in the world. The sunspots completely match the one they were taking pictures of in Antarctica. I feel like I have to watch the rest of this to see if he addresses any of this.
You don't need an LCD screen. You don't need any sort of medium for reflection. None of that. Literally just in thin air.
Right. This is just a little point, and this is old technology. This isn't this is what they're telling us about. So there's nothing there. So just think bigger. Everyone think bigger, right? What's the most important lie that the elite have? Hiding the globe, hiding the flat earth, hiding the flat earth.
Why?
To think that they were going to go through all of the, the trouble to lie about every other aspect, but we're not going to shore up what goes on in Antarctica, also knowing that people were eventually going to say, hey, I think the earth is flat, I want to go see. That means, hey, they just waited for this moment, basically.
Right.
They go every year. They go all the time. This isn't the first time the 24-hour sun in Antarctica has ever been seen.
Wait until somebody questions, then we'll go down there and show them the sun. And who got pranked? Jaron and all.
Yep. With all of the scientific, university researching that's being done down there, scientists, astronomers, all of this time, for the last 20, 30, 40 years, nobody has done a 24-hour sun except a guy that works for National Geographic and Union Glacier, which is, that they're deceptive.
So the 5-day one was fake. The other one was fake. It's all fake. All the ones, everything. It's so easy. What an easy position it is to be a flat earther. Just accept anything that you agree with, that backs your position and makes your app sales. And just call everything that goes against it fake without explanation. That's fake. That's fake. Oh, that looks a bit iffy, so that's fake. I've got no knowledge of cameras or anything else, but that don't look right to me. Fake. And everyone watching, the sheep that call everyone else sheep in the world, the sheep watching this, giving it, yeah, that's right, he said it's fake, so it's definitely fake. Dave said it's fake, so it's fake.
And a bunch of propped up globe propagandists. They're the ones that bring flat earthers down there to see this event.
Yeah.
Who will you go yourself? See, this is another thing he's not addressing. You think he claims he's got 3 Bitcoin, sell some, and fund yourself to go and blow this wide apart. You won't. You don't need to rely on Will Duffy to take you, Dave. You claim you've got all this money. Go do it yourself. Just go.
Talking about the heat wave, going back to the heat wave for a second. If let's just say they've only been practicing for 4 years. Well, that's when Anthony Powell did his other better videos, not the ones, that essentially look the same as what everyone filmed at TFE. So the guy's been humiliated, and the answer is, I lied. These are both real. This one is real, and this one is real, but you probably picked this one, right?
Taboo Conspiracy and I both picked that one.
Which one is the real sun? I Photoshop 2 of the images in there. So we're looking at an LCD screen. Which one's the real sun?
Please address the other things.
And that's what those guys saw. And by the way, it brings light and heat. So the heat wave is they've been testing for the last 4 years, testing in the winter when nobody's there.
So I'm sorry, I don't want to miss this because people are going to say, well, what about the real sun?
Hey, here we go.
What explain that. So basically we have our flat earth map, your generalized flat earth map that basically doing this. 80 degrees, anything.
I am looking forward to this.
Basically says that there's not going to be any sunrise there, right? Is that the idea?
Maybe it would rise low on the horizon at 10 a.m. and set by 2 p.m. Maybe.
Okay. So
maybe not at all.
Oh, you don't know now.
At Union Glacier, they're at 79.5, right? So that means the sun's going to be visible at some point. So how do you block out the sun and replace it with the new sun?
So here's a picture that I took. This is I get to watch the sunrise here. I'm in Mexico, and out here, there's a layer of clouds. So I don't see the sun. The sun should rise here, but I don't get to see the sun until it's about 15 degrees off the horizon. Okay. So if there is at that far south, I don't think that they're going to, and look at the flat earth map, the sun would be very low. It would be very low only for 3, 4, 5 hours at the max. And so it could just be behind here. Clouds
behind
in the
what?
distance, like halfway from Antarctica to Chile, just cloud up the sky. You know, we know that they can do that. So here's a day where there is no clouds. I can see the sun, right? And another day, this is here. And so there's the horizon.
But you've just been talking about how there was no clouds for the whole time they were there. Now you're saying the clouds covered up the real sun. What clouds? You've just said they cleared the sky with manipulation so as everyone could see the fake sun. But now you're bringing clouds into the equation that's what hid the real sun. Is that what you just said? There wasn't any clouds. There was one mountain. They would have seen the real sun come in from the north, according to you. So the mountain wouldn't have even been relevant, right?
And I don't see the sun until it's 15, 20 degrees off the horizon. And so when the sun rises, it's behind, just imagine this behind that cloud, and it's going back to the northwest, to northwest. So the sun would never show. We have light in the sky, and we have a super bright light going across the sky. No one's even going to notice the sun, right? You wouldn't even have to match up.
Did he just say to that? You've just spent 40 minutes, how long? 30 minutes talking about how the sun, it was so weird that the sky was so clear. It's never so clear so that we could see the sun. And now you're bringing clouds into it to hide the real sun after saying there were no clouds. You're now bringing clouds into it, and the bloke's just randomly sitting again. Yeah, that's right, Dave. Yeah, clouds. Fuck's sake.
To it. You wouldn't even have to match up to it.
They also say that the people at
well, you're going to move on
down there. They're there for specifically the 4 months that there is supposed to be sun, and then they pack up and leave. Is that true?
I think so.
Union Glacier, right? That like November.
I think
to February,
so. Doesn't even know.
So essentially, as far as we could tell, they're down there essentially to fake the sun. You know.
Well, maybe not. Maybe they're doing other research down there.
Yeah,
you would have to say, you know, it's just like going, oh, is everyone in NASA?
Is that literally all you're going to say about the real sun? The fact that you think it would be low on the horizon, and the clouds that weren't there covered it up. Is that really your explanation, and you're just going to move along?
In on it? Well, lots of them are, you know, so there's lots of people at Union Glacier that are in on it. Now, the guy that cooks the pizzas, the guy that cleans the bathrooms, he's just there. It's light in the sky. And let's say he's there for working there for the last 2 years. And they're like, okay, let's do a blue sky test today. Hey, we have a couple of random mountain climbers here. We have the marathoners here. And we're gonna make the blue sky, and we're gonna make it go around. And Anthony, you can.
No, sorry, I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to any more of that shit. Like the fact that they've just that's their idea of addressing the real sun situation. No more credibility. I thought I'd give it the benefit of the doubt for a laugh. And see what kind of crap. I get it, Dave. You have to sell your app. You have to pretend all of this is possible. You have to pretend that everyone's a con man. You have to pretend that NASA paid for it all. You have to pretend that there's a laser in the sky that nobody but you has noticed. You have to pretend that the real sun can be covered up by clouds that you claimed weren't there for the entire video until that you needed them, and then you brought them in. We get it, right? But it's still too much. How long have I been doing this for? 37 minutes. That's enough for me. There's Flat Dave's evidence, everybody. Right? What do you think about that? Flat Earth Dave evidence of how they faked the Antarctic sun on the trip that he completely shit himself from going on, and could afford to go on his own and still won't, because it's literally his wages he'd be throwing away. Cheers. See you later.